Welcome to Lesson 28.1, Response. In this lesson, we'll describe how animals respond to stimuli, summarize the trends in the evolution of nervous systems in animals, and describe some of the different sensory systems in animals. Organisms' responses to external factors begin with activity in a nervous system made up of specialized nerve cells or neurons. Neurons of different types are connected to one another in ways that enable them to receive and pass on information. Working together, neurons acquire information about external factors, interpret that information, and then decide what to do about it. An external factor in the environment that causes an organism to react is called a stimulus. Light, heat, and molecules in air or water can serve as stimuli. The sound of your phone ringing on a Friday night is a stimulus. An animal's ability to detect stimuli depends on specialized cells called sensory neurons. Each type of sensory neuron responds to a particular stimulus such as light, heat, or a chemical. Humans share many types of sensory cells with other animals. For that reason, many animals react to stimuli that humans notice, including light, taste, odor, temperature, sound, water, gravity, and pressure. The owl shown, for example, reacts to all these stimuli. Many animals have types of sensory cells that humans lack. That's one reason why some animals respond to stimuli that humans cannot detect, such as very weak electric currents or Earth's magnetic field. In many animals, sensory neurons are organized together with other cells into sense organs such as eyes or ears that help process stimuli. Eyes, for example, can enable animals to look in different directions. Eyes also gather and focus light onto sensory cells. How does information gathered by sensory neurons lead to the right response? When sensory neurons detect a stimulus, they pass information about it to other nerve cells. Those neurons, which typically pass information to still other neurons, are called interneurons. Interneurons process information and determine how an animal responds to stimuli. The number of interneurons an animal has and the way those interneurons process information determine how flexible and complex an animal's behavior can be. Some invertebrates, such as cnidarians and worms, have few interneurons. These animals are capable of only simple responses to stimuli. They may swim toward light or toward a chemical stimulus that signals food. Vertebrates have more highly developed nervous system with large number of interneurons. Vertebrate brains are made up of many interneurons. That's why vertebrate behaviors can be more complex than those of most invertebrates. A specific reaction to a stimulus is called a response. When an animal responds to a stimulus, body systems, including the nervous system and the muscular system, work together to generate a response. Responses to many stimuli are directed by the nervous system. However, those responses are usually carried out by cells or tissues that are not nerve cells. A lion's decision to chase prey is carried out by muscle cells that produce movement. In that case, nerve cells called motor neurons carry directions from interneurons to muscles. Other responses to environmental conditions may be carried out by other body systems, such as respiratory or circulatory systems. Nervous systems vary greatly in organization and complexity across the animal kingdom. Animal nervous systems exhibit different degrees of cephalization and specialization. Invertebrate nervous systems range from simple collections of nerve cells to complex organizations. Vertebrates, in contrast, show a high degree of cephalization and have highly developed nervous systems. There are several different types of nervous systems among invertebrates. Cnidarians, such as jellyfish, have simple nervous system called nerve nets. As the name implies, nerve nets consist of neurons connected into net-like arrangements with few specializations. In other radially symmetrical invertebrates, for example, echinoderms, such as sea stars, some interneurons are grouped together into nerves or nerve cords that form a ring around the animal's mouth and stretch out along their arms. In still other invertebrates, a number of interneurons are grouped together into smaller structures called ganglia, in which interneurons connect with one another. Bilaterally symmetrical animals often exhibit cephalization, the concentration of sensory neurons and interneurons in a head. Certain flatworms and roundworms show some cephalization. Some cephalopod mollusks and many arthropods show high degrees of cephalization. In these animals, interneurons form ganglia in several places. Typically, the largest ganglia are located in the head region and are called the cerebral ganglia. In some species, cerebral ganglia are further organized into a structure called a brain. The brains of some cephalopods, such as octopi, enable complex behavior, including several kinds of learning. Non-vertebrate chordates, which have no vertebrate-type head as adults, still have a cerebral ganglion. Vertebrate brains are formed from many interneurons within the skull. These interneurons are connected with one another and with sensory neurons and motor neurons in the head and elsewhere in the body. The human brain contains more than 100 billion nerve cells, each of which sends signals to as many as 1,000 other nerve cells and receives signals from up to 10,000 more. The regions of the vertebrate brain include the cerebrum, cerebellum, medulla oblongata, optic lobes, and olfactory bulbs. The cerebrum is the thinking region of the brain. The cerebrum receives and interprets sensory information and determines a response. The cerebrum is also involved in learning, memory, and conscious thought. The cerebellum coordinates movement and controls balance. The medulla oblongata controls the functioning of many internal organs. Optic lobes are involved in vision, and olfactory bulbs are involved in the sense of smell. Vertebrate brains are connected to the rest of the body by a thick collection of nerves called a spinal cord, which runs through a tube in a vertebral column. The brain evolution in vertebrates follows a general trend of increasing size and complexity from fish through amphibians and reptiles to birds and mammals. The illustration shows how the size and complexity of the cerebrum and cerebellum increases. The brains of some chickadee species are so sophisticated that the part responsible for remembering locations gets bigger when the bird stores food in the fall. When winter comes, the tiny bird is better able to find its hundreds of storage places. In the spring, its brain returns to normal size. In birds and mammals, and especially in primates, the cerebrum is much larger and may contain folds that increase its surface area. The cerebellum is also most highly developed in birds and mammals. Sensory systems range from individual sensory neurons to sense organs that contain both sensory neurons and other cells that help gather information. Many invertebrates have sense organs that detect light, sound, vibrations, movement, body orientation, and chemicals in air or water. Invertebrate sense organs vary widely in complexity. Flatworms, for example, have simple eye spots that detect only the presence and direction of light. More cephalized invertebrates have specialized sensory tissues and well-developed sense organs. The 40 to 60 simple eyes of a scallop do not form images. They do, however, detect movement well enough to enable the scallop to escape its predators. Some cephalopods and arthropods have complex eyes that detect motion and color and form images. The compound eyes of many arthropods are made up of many lenses that detect minute changes in movement and color but produce less detailed images than human eyes do. Octopi and squid have eyes as complex as fishes and humans, though their structures differ. Non-vertebrate chordates have few specialized sense organs. In tunicates, sensory cells in and on the siphons and other internal surfaces help control the amount of water passing through the pharynx. Lancelets have a cerebral ganglion with a pair of eye spots that detect light. In contrast, most vertebrates have highly evolved sense organs. Many vertebrates have very sensitive organs of taste, smell, and hearing. Some sharks, for example, can sense 1 drop of blood in 100 liters of water. Although all mammalian ears have the same basic parts, they differ in their ability to detect sound, as shown in the table. Bats and dolphins can even find objects in the environment using echoes of their own high-frequency sounds. A great many species of fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals have color vision that is good as or often better than that of humans. Some species, including certain fish and the duckbill platypus, can detect weak electrical currents in water. Some animals, such as sharks, use this electric sense to navigate by detecting electric currents in seawater that are caused by Earth's magnetic field. Other electric fish can create their own electric currents. These fish use electric pulses to communicate with another in much the same way that other animals communicate using sound. Many species that can detect electric currents use the ability to track down prey in dark, murky waters. Some birds can detect Earth's magnetic field directly, and they use that ability to navigate during long-distance migrations.